a seismic shift on abortion rights. As of this moment, Roe versus Wade essentially upended. At the stroke of midnight, the most restrictive abortion law in the country went into effect in Texas. It essentially bans all abortions after 6 weeks. 6 weeks before most women even know they are pregnant. Now, this law gives private citizens the right to sue doctors or anyone else connected to a woman getting an abortion for as much as $10,000. All they need to do is help. It could be a Lyft driver to take a woman to a clinic who could be sued. The timing on this is once a fetal heartbeat is detected.
So this law is in effect for now because the Supreme Court didn't act on a request to block it. Through their inaction, though, the justices have left the tightest abortion restriction since Roe versus Wade to be enforced, and the landmark decision itself could now be in jeopardy. So joining us to talk about all of this is CNN chief legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin.
Good morning.
Why do you think the Supreme Court hasn't acted on this yet?
This is a very peculiar situation designed to create legal complications by Texas. Because of the law Berman just mentioned, the way the law is structured, it is not the state of Texas that enforces the law the way it works in most states, the way it works in every state. It is this system of private enforcement, private attorneys general, it's called. And what this difficulty is that it's created is that it's unclear who the abortion provider should sue. Usually you just sue the state government and the court issues an injunction on state government, don't enforce the law. With no single enforcer of the law, there is this procedural problem that abortion providers have, that it is unclear who they're supposed to sue. That's what's creating this legal tangle separate from the issue about the abortion law. But the effect is that this law is now in effect, and Roe v. Wade essentially does not exist, at least in the state of Texas, and probably more states to come.
There is so much about this that's fascinating, but it's that last sentence from you, Jeff, that I think people need to understand. As of now, Roe versus Wade, overturned isn't the right word, but upended, I think, is.
Exactly right. You know, January 23rd, 1973, the day of Roe v. Wade, was the last time a state had laws banning abortion. Today, September 1st, 2021, is the first day since 1973 where a state has legally banned abortion. There are no more abortion clinics functioning in Texas, zero.
6 weeks, it's viability, fetal viability, which is about 6 weeks. And there are some estimates that about 85%, if not higher, of abortions in Texas take place after that. It's before most women even know they're pregnant.
Well, and remember, it's not, that's the law. But think about what an abortion provider has to think about in light of this law. If you are sued, not only sued successfully for aiding and abetting an abortion, that's the term that's used in the law. If you are sued successfully, you have to pay the $10,000 fine, you have to shut down, and you have to pay the attorney's fees of the plaintiff in the case, whoever the plaintiff may be. It could be somebody in Montana, could be the plaintiff. I mean, it could be anyone in the country suing to stop people from having abortions. So being rational actors, these abortion clinics are saying, look, we're just not going to do this.
Yeah.
And that is the clear purpose of the law.
And obviously who it would predominantly affect are lower income women. And the Washington Post says 85 to 90% of people who get abortions in Texas are at least 6 weeks into pregnancy because they don't know that they're pregnant that early on. And the president of the Center for Reproductive Rights says now patients will have to travel out of state in the middle of a pandemic to receive constitutionally guaranteed health care.
This is exactly the same situation as if Roe v. Wade had been overturned. Because if Roe v. Wade is overturned, that means it will be up to each state. So, you know, virtually all the red states will ban abortion, but New York, California, many other blue states will not ban abortion. So the question will be, if you want an abortion in a red state, can you somehow make it to a blue state? Do you have the economic resources? Do you have the time? Or can you get what's called a medical abortion, which is an increasing way women are able to terminate their pregnancies through medication, but believe me, the red states are doing their best to ban that as well.
Again, and this is a roadmap for how they can do it, which is why I say, as of this moment, as we sit here at 7:05 Eastern Time today, Roe versus Wade has been upended in Texas, Jeffrey, and I'm curious because the Supreme Court did not step in overnight, and they could have. And as I said to Laura Jarrett before, doing nothing was doing something here. This is a statement. How am I supposed to read this from the Supreme Court overnight?
I think you are supposed to read it as doom is coming for Roe v. Wade. Now, entirely separate from this Texas case, there is a Mississippi case in the traditional manner of Supreme Court cases. You know, one of the, frankly, many outrageous things about what's gone on in Texas here is that the Supreme Court has acted in what's called the shadow docket. There was no briefing. There was no formal briefing of this case. There was no oral argument of this case. Roe v. Wade is sort of thrown out of the back of a caboose, you know, without any sort of ceremony here. Now, there will be a case about a Mississippi law that is almost as restrictive as Roe v. Wade, as this Texas law, that will be argued after October when the Supreme Court back. Now, that will be the opportunity for the 6 conservative justices, you just saw it on the screen, to formally end Roe v. Wade in the United States. But this decision has the effect of ending Roe v. Wade without actually performing the ceremony of burial.
While you're here with us this morning, I also want to get your opinion on what House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said overnight, threatening essentially these telecommunications companies that have gotten requests from the committee investigating January 6th, saying essentially that if they comply, that they have hell to pay potentially if Republicans take the majority.
You know, one of the things you learn, Caitlin, as an assistant U.S. attorney, is that these telecommunications companies have entire offices devoted to responding to subpoenas. It is completely routine for Verizon and company to answer subpoenas. The idea that they somehow have the obligation, much less the legal right, to simply say to a valid subpoena, we're not complying, is incredible to me. Now, it is true, it is somewhat more unusual for a congressional committee to subpoena records than it is for an assistant U.S. attorney for the Department of Justice, but it still has happened before. So I really have no idea what legal basis Kevin McCarthy has to make this threat other than just bluster, because you know, phone companies reply to subpoenas. That's what they do.
Jeffrey, can I just go back to the Supreme Court for one second here? Because this is something you've talked about and written about for a long time here. The Supreme Court in abortion has been very animating, perhaps more animating for conservatives, even though a majority of Americans supports abortion rights, certainly within the first trimester. What impact, if this sticks in Texas and this seismic shift happens, which as of right now it has happened, what impact do you think it might have politically? Could that animate Democratic voters?
You know, this has been the great unanswered questions. You know, Donald Trump ran for president saying, I will appoint justices to the Supreme Court who will vote to overturn Roe v. Wade. He has 3 appointees on the court. There are 3 other appointees on the court, Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and John Roberts, who have spoken out against Roe v. Wade before, although Roberts has later said he supports the precedent. But there are 5 justices, it appears, the 3 Trump appointees, plus, there they are on the screen, plus Thomas and Alito, who seem like solid votes to overturn Roe v. Wade. You know, we've been accused, those of us who have been saying that Roe is about to be overturned, as being Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. We'll see, because it certainly looks like the sky is falling now. You know, Republicans have been very upfront about what they want to do on the Supreme Court, but they haven't done it yet. As of now, as of the Mississippi case, they may actually do it, and we'll see what, if any, political blowback there is. You know, it has certainly been a more animating and successful issue for Republicans than for Democrats, but as states start to outright ban abortion, maybe that'll change. But I don't hazard a prediction about that.
Jeffrey Toobin, thanks so much.
All righty, pal.